Hey, what's up guys, how's it going? So, it's Halloween, which means it's time for trick-or-treating, costume parties, and all that other bullshit. And it's also the perfect time for some Halloween-esque games. Now what I'm going to do today is just recommend a wide variety of games, from platformers to first-person shooters to stealth-based games, a little bit of everything. And of course, they're going to be retro games, which means they're going to be old like the title, kind of says. I'm going to be recommending games for the PS2, OG Xbox, GameCube, and Dreamcast, maybe some honorable mentions, but yeah, if you want to, stick around. Enough bullshit. Let's get started. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but of course I'll be ranking from worst to best, and as you can see, this game kind of ranks slow on the list. Now, Doom 3. It's basically a horror first-person shooter. It has a lot of horror elements, I guess. Now, there's one thing that I like about this game that it does similar to Half-Life, where you explore where you're going to be shooting in the beginning, before everything sort of hits the fan. Now, in the beginning of the game, you're exploring a space station. Of course, you're a space marine, just like the other Doom games. And I'd say that the first 10 minutes of the game you'll be, exploring, walking around. Of course, things happen, and you end up shooting aliens and different things like that. Now, as I've said before, this game has horror elements. Of course, with the horror elements, as creepy, creatures, creepy noises. One more thing that I'd like to mention about Doom 3 is when you're exploring the game, you're basically exploring through the dark. I know most people aren't a fan of this, but me personally, I am, because it adds a bit of realism. But when you're exploring through the dark, you have to choose whether you want to hold your gun or a flashlight. I don't know why, but to me that adds a little bit of realism to the game. What's first priority, shooting aliens or seeing? But then again, I do get it, not everybody's going to be a fan of that, and the game is actually pretty cheap for the OG Xbox. It's $10, so if you want to, go check it out. Alrighty, number 4, Grabbed by the Ghoulies, one of my personal favorites for the OG Xbox. Now, this game was made for Halloween. It's a basic storyline: you and your girlfriend are going on a hike, of course you get lost, going into this abandoned mansion, your girlfriend gets kidnapped, and you have to go throughout the mansion and, of course, save your girlfriend. A very simple premise, but believe it or not, this game packs a lot of content. You basically beat 'em up with varying levels of enemies. So yeah, this game is just chock full of humor. I forgot to mention this game is made by Rare, the people that made Banjo-Kazooie. This was one of the few games Rare made for the OG Xbox. Well, besides Conk Island Reloaded, but that's it. There's also these quick time events throughout the game where you go through these hallways, you get somewhat scared, and if you don't do the quick time event, of course your main character dies. There's honestly a lot to offer when it comes to this game, and at least in my opinion, it's very underrated. Now, in terms of price, it's still pretty much dirt cheap. It's like $15, but apparently there's rumors about a sequel to Grabbed by the Ghoulies, so I'd say grab it while you can, because this seems like one of those games that might spike up in price, but hey, I don't know. I might be wrong. Alright, number 3, Manhunt, another personal favorite. Now, remember what I said at number 5, that, Doom 3 had horror elements? Yeah, with this game, it's mostly just stealth and horror. Now, I'm pretty sure everybody knows how infamous this game is when it comes to violence and different, things like that. Now, when it comes down to the story, play as James Earl Cash. You were supposed to be on death row, but of course, you were sort of let out by this millionaire called Starkweather. And believe me, this person is no saint himself.
Oh my god, I've had an accident. I'm serious, man. You brought me off.
And unfortunately, this millionaire has you playing a role in his snuff film. Now, the snuff film entails you going through different areas, and of course, you taking out your enemies in gruesome ways. Now, if Grabbed by the Ghoulies doesn't scream Halloween, this game certainly will. To somewhat describe this game, it's a bit of a 80s slasher flick. You cannot hide through dark corners and areas, and of course when you see an enemy, you kill them. Now, in my opinion, this is another game that is severely underrated. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but this game was made by Rockstar Games. Yes, the same people that made Grand Theft Auto. Clearly, this is a game that they will never touch again. This is a game that only could have released during the PS2 era, and you can see where I'm going with this. This game is... It's at a reasonable price. It's about $30, but as you can see, it's slowly getting up in price because, again, it's underrated. A game like this will not be released today, so that kind of explains the price. But again, another game that is severely underrated, but yeah, let's move on. Number 2, House of the Dead 2, a classic for the Dreamcast. This game is an arcade classic. To be honest, the number 2 spot on this list doesn't have to just apply to House of the Dead 2. It could be 2 or 3, doesn't matter. But yeah, another game that just sort of screams Halloween. Now, it's a very arcadey game in nature. Of course, this game was meant to be used with a light gun, but you could also use a regular Dreamcast controller. But the game is just simple overall. You just go through different levels and you just shoot zombies. Of course, some are harder than others and you get a couple boss fights here and there, but the game is decent for the most part. Now, in terms of price, House of the Dead 2 is cheap, House of the Dead 3 is cheap, House of the Dead 1, whew, we're talking triple digits. But honestly, at that point, you might as well just emulate the game. I know it's not as fun as a real thing, but I mean, $100 to $300, okay, that's not cheap, but you know what, that's reasonable. $500, you kind of reached in a little bit, at least in my opinion, but hey, it is what it is. But honestly, House of the Dead 1, 2, and 3 are simple games, so there's not really too much to say, so let's just move on to number 1. Number 1, Luigi's Mansion. Now, you and I both know this had to be on this list. This game screams Halloween. Shit, this game was made for Halloween. This is the ultimate Halloween type of game. I think we all know what Luigi's Mansion is about at this point, but I'll just explain it for the people that don't know. Luigi wins a mansion, of course, Mario gets kidnapped, and you have to save him. And you go throughout the game just to capture ghosts and different things like that. There's a couple boss fights, but this game just has a ton of creativity. Now, just going through different rooms and things like that, this game is just overall great. However, in terms of price, it's not so great. It's about 60 something bucks. It's not the best, but hey, at least it's not in the triple digits. But anyway though, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to, join the Discord. I'm looking for new people in there, but yeah, if you want to, like, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, Nourish, and tell me down below. Did you like this list? Did you hate this list? I don't know, tell me down in the comments. Did the video suck? Did the video do good? Tell me down below, and yeah, I'll see you guys later. Peace.
Devastation.